Hey all, this is Sarah coming at you from sunny Los Angeles. Just woken up, if you can't tell from my hair. I haven't made a video in a while, and I wanted to riff on a topic I've been thinking about a lot, which is freedom and autonomy. It almost seems silly to talk about this because it's such a big, ubiquitous topic that I imagine everybody thinks about to some regard. But it's been such a process for me of trying to understand how to relate with it that I wanted to share some thoughts and see if they might help clarify those for other people too. So most connections, friendships, relationships I get in, there's a couple different phases. There's this moment of, oh, hey, you seem interesting, whether it's romantic or possibility thereof or friendship or even business. And then there's this moment of like, well, you seem interesting, but do I have the time for you? Do I have the desire to make this connection? Do you have the time or desire to make this connection? And also, like, there's energy here and I want to move towards it. And there's been multiple phases of my life, one of which where I was just like, I'm going to dive into any connection like that. I'm just going to move towards it. It's going to be amazing. And I would fall full scale in and have these amazing connections a lot of the time if the other person was a yes, and then experience a lot of pain when they ended. Or transitioned, because sometimes they would last for a lifetime. I still have some of those friends, and other times they would end quickly. And I used to think, okay, well, I'm never going to do that again. And so then I came into a phase where I was like, okay, I'm going to get into connections, but I'm going to just like be very protective of my autonomy. I'm going to say, okay, just so you know, I have a very full life. I may or may not have time for you. I'm going to be over here in my box, and you're going to be over there in your box. And when we intersect, that's cool. And some people I found were of the mindset of like, sweet, avoidance, we're down for that. And other people were like, well, no, but I want to be Twitter pated. I want to be in this with you. And I found that there were downsides to that sort of somewhat isolated form of connection as well. I got to stay safer, but there were some connections that really didn't get to grow because of that. And I couldn't always anticipate it. I remember saying that to a partner that I met. We met at a retreat. And we had this incredible connection, like dance and fire spinning and sleeping next to each other and snuggling and being together. And at the end of it, I was like, we sat down, we're like, okay, are we going to continue this? And I was like, okay, just so you know, I have a very full life. I may not have time for you. I would like to hang out again and, feel into this. It was like, great. I'm new to Austin. I want to explore. That's wonderful in terms of your timing. Let's go with that. And we started hanging out, and within a week, we're spending every day together. So I learned you can't always anticipate those things. And I've always been, playing this game of like, how much do I lean in? How much does the other person lean in? And I've been thinking lately, are there other ways to navigate that? Are there ways of leaning in and really giving myself up to a connection, experiencing it fully while also holding my own autonomy? And what do I need from the other person to make that okay and safe? And it's had me start exploring the idea of jealousy. When I feel jealousy, what is it that's actually happening for me? Because before, jealousy was just an intense emotion, and I was like, I don't want you to do this thing. That's what jealousy means, that I feel pain if this thing happens. But it's actually a lot more nuanced than that. I feel jealousy, personally, when I feel excluded. I feel like I'm not welcome in a situation where previously there was intimacy. If I have a friend who's connecting on the other side of the room in a really deep, beautiful interaction with someone else, or with a partner, for instance, with their girlfriend, and I feel like I can't approach that, that's a moment. I feel on the outside, there's almost like a cosmic separation of this is my melding, this is my person, there's a lot of my being, I feel, that's outside of me in my connections with others. And it's like in that moment, a part of my being has been cut off from me. And I'm not allowed to re-engage it. And there's an existential fear of I am alone in the world in that moment. And that's the jealousy. It's like there's something beautiful that I've expected to be included in that I can't be. But the can't is my own interpretation. one thing I've been trying is, can I go over and say hi? Like, we just engage for a moment. Let me just put a hand on this person's back as I pass by. Let me make time to talk with them afterwards or make that request. Can there be more nuance than I am welcome in this or I am not? And these sorts of explorations, autonomy or freedom, are requiring me to touch deeper parts of myself, including my own boundaries. I've gotten into connections recently where the other person's view on it was, well, if it's a great connection, of course we go all the way into it. Like, I'm going to move here for you. I'm going to, we're going to spend all of our time together. I never find connections like this. And something that I feel a little uncomfortable admitting, I'm a little bit like, do I want to say this on camera? But I notice that I have that experience with people, and they often have it with me, of like, wow, this is an amazing connection. I've never experienced anything like this. And if you do enough work, I think, as I've done work to get to more honest communication with myself, with other people, more honest knowledge of myself, it's kind of made me brighter in the world. And that, I think, attracts other people. And so I've had to decide, like, when I feel that draw to others, because I interact with lots of bright people like that too, and I think everyone has aspects of that, or when people feel it to me, what is my obligation to them in that? And where can I learn and help others learn from my own boundaries? Of saying, yes, this is bright and beautiful, and we should touch the aliveness and the spark of life, and life wouldn't be life if we didn't do that. And at the same time, we're separate beings. We're going to separate. We're going to have time apart from each other. We're going to hurt each other. We have lives that ideally I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave the other connections I have to fall into a new one, not for long periods of time. So there's almost this web of connections and selves that at different times, different strands of it get stronger or lighter. And the connection, the feeling and question becomes, can I maintain the threads that are most important to me at different times? And as I change, can I let some threads get weaker? And as other people change, the same. Can I be okay with that? There's this Mary Oliver poem that reads, to live in the world, you must do 3 things. To love what is mortal. To hold it against your bones, knowing that you can never let it go. And when the time comes, to let it go. I'm a fan these days of relationships by design, where we meet each other, where we really let ourselves experience the joy and the delight in a deep connection, or in whatever type of connection it is, and where we talk about, what is it that we feel here? Let's affirm and appreciate this form of connection. And let's talk about what each of us is open to or available for. And if I say something like, I'm available for friendship, what do I mean by that? I'm available to message you. I'm probably going to message you like at least once a day. Or if you message me, I'll probably respond. And there may be days that I go without it. And so if you feel a desire for contact, reach out and message me again. And then checking like, okay, how does that sound to you? How often do you usually do contact in friendship? And if I do that differently, what aspects do you need? What do you need from me to feel comfortable and safe? This is something that can get built up over time and renegotiated, but I think usually we just assume that if the other person isn't giving us what we want and need, then they must not care. And that's not true. They might not know. They might not know how to do that in themselves. They might not know that they even want it. They might not be willing for it. And if you don't align, if there are fundamental things where the other person wants a form of relationship that you can't give, then the question becomes, is this connection strong enough for me to work with that person to change myself, to change them, or to live with the amount of pain that's invariably going to cause us to be different? Because connection does mean living with pain. There's a difference between pain and suffering. And if you love someone, if you connect with someone, there's going to be pain. They're a different person than you. There's going to be jealousy, there's going to be insecurity, there's going to be fear. But when you can touch those things, when you can let the other person be autonomous, be their own being with their own desires and beliefs and other connections, and respect those, then you get to be more fully yourself. And in that meeting of two full selves that are compromising parts to be with each other, but not their essential being and needs, there's wild joy. There's creativity. When we're each trying to be like the other person, we lose either end of the spectrum. We lose the capacity to make new things that come from two distinct creatures coming together and bringing their own distinctness. And yeah, sure, I have friends that I would love to spend more time with. I have friends that I would love to be partners, and that I feel pain every time I think about them, and I think, I can't touch this, I can't have this thing that I want. But I have this thing that I need. I have this connection that I deeply desire, and I can watch this person being themselves out there. And I can watch myself feeling that desire. And I can tell them, and we can talk about it. And I can feel that contact, and for the moment, that contact can be enough. And all I have to do is do that again and again, and be strong in my desire to keep those people in my life, and be clear when I want to add others, and when I want to let others go. And that to me is a life of freedom and connection that feels worth living.